24 years ago when I was in a solitary confinement cell, facing the rest of my life in prison. That's where I met Jesus. The night that I was going to take my own life because it was worthless and I didn't want it anymore. Jesus engaged me, interrupted me, and changed the entire trajectory of my life, and has done miracle after miracle after miracle in my life and through my life over the last 24 years. So my whole life in the beginning, in the formidable years, was unstable, violent. My father disowned me when I was 7 years of age. I never heard him say he was proud of me, never heard him say he loved me. And the last night in our home, I remember my brother, who was just 11, my father beat him near senseless. My mother grabbed everything that we could and drove off into the night. And we went from home to home to home, hiding from him, and living in garages and even abandoned warehouses and wherever we could find a place to stay away from my father. Broken people attract broken people. And my mother attracted a very broken person that was much worse than my biological father. And he was a gangster, a motorbike gangster. I walked in on him raping my mother when I was 8 years of age, and then was flabbergasted by the news that she intended on marrying him. My stepfather was a very sick man and very abusive. So, I mean, by the age of 9, I had been sexually molested, physically abused, abandoned on the streets, introduced to cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, pornography, even murder. I was fencing stuff when I was 10, you know, just to keep food on the table. And because my stepfather would use most of the money that he made for drugs and alcohol. My mom was my world. And when she signed the papers to send me into foster care, it did something to my heart that I can't even explain. And I cracked. So I made a mess of my life from that point forward. Started off by burning down my high school, and I got caught and they put me in detention. So I went from foster care to detention, and from detention to a boys ranch, and boys ranch to another foster home. And you know, by now I'm 14, 15 years old, and I landed in a foster home that loved me. I couldn't handle it. And a lot of that is probably because I was scared to death that if I allowed somebody into my heart, I would feel again what I had felt when my mother signed those papers. I ran away from there, I hurt them, and made my way to Denver, Colorado, Colfax and 8th, tripping over hypodermic needles in the street, and doing whatever I needed to do to survive, even to the extent of prostituting myself, until it got too cold and the shame was too much and I couldn't handle it anymore, and I just needed it to be over. And I was so numb, and I had nobody and nothing. I was hungry. And so I turned myself in, and they put me in detention again. And now I was looking at spending up to my 21st birthday in detention. Instead, after a few months, they sent me out to Georgia to live with my sister. But once again, I bit the hand that fed me. It was too hard, and it was too real, and it was too close. And so I ran again. I'd been to 5 high schools before Georgia, and then went to 2 with my sister and ended up graduating from there. And I joined the aviation side of the Navy. And so I was underway. My first 4 years in the military was on sea duty as an aviation anti-submarine warfare technician over Desert Storm time frame. And so after 4 years, I had opportunity to re-enlist and get a different job. So I went back to training school and became an air traffic controller in 1993. And so when Key West came up, I was like, oh, Key West. 5 years shore duty in Key West, party capital, right on, go for it. And that was the beginning of a huge spiral for me. Because by this time, I was addicted to so many things. I was addicted to alcohol and drugs and pornography and gambling and adrenaline and all sorts of things that I was looking to fill this void in me. And the more I sought these things, the bigger the void became and the more numb I became. So I sought everything and anything that I could just to feel alive, and nothing worked. And I got so depressed. I'm in Key West, and I thought it would be fun to take the cash box out of an ATM. Stupid, eh? So me and my tower supervisor decided to do that, on the way to work one morning. And we were a little delayed in getting to work because we got caught. The cleaning crew came in at 4 a.m. as my partner was walking out with the cash box. So they arrested us and put us in the jail. And we bailed out the next day, but it's too late. Doesn't matter if you're adjudicated or not. Our military career was over. And so I got this brilliant idea to plan a heist so that I could retire. One of my addictions was gambling. And so I was a VIP card-carrying member on the gambling ship that cruised out of Key West. And I knew the ship pretty well. And I estimated that they had $1.5 to $2 million take at the right time and the right way. So I began planning a heist and enlisted the services of a confidential informant. Again, I'm a brilliant criminal. So this confidential informant wore a wire on me and my partner for 3 weeks. And then they arrested us for all manner of conspiracy. 7 pages in my FBI report. So now we were looking at 27 years in the civilian sector and then the rest of our lives under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, because we were both active duty military when this occurred. And they put me in solitary confinement, and I began reading the Bible. I was hopeless, and I was done. I didn't want to do this anymore. And I'd gotten psychotropic drugs and a razor blade from the trustees when they came to deliver our meals. And every meal I'd get a pill slid under the door. And because if you got money, you can get just about anything in jail or prison. I piled up, I had a fistful of drugs and I had a razor blade, and I was gonna take the drugs, and when I started to feel the effect, slice my arm, and they'd find me cold in the morning when I didn't respond to my breakfast tray. And the night that I was gonna do that, I was sitting in the dark and I was looking at this block wall, and I said, I could be talking to this wall for all I know. But I've been reading this book and it says that you love me, and all I gotta do is ask and you'll save me. So I'm asking. And you know, when I said, okay, save me, nothing happened. I didn't even have a warm, fuzzy feeling. It was really anticlimactic. But I decided to kill myself tomorrow. And every day I decided to kill myself tomorrow. And every day I wrestled with God. And cards on the table, all in, you gotta let me know that this is real, or I want nothing to do with you or life or anything anymore. The chaplain got me out of solitary confinement and put into general population after 2.5 months. I remember one day I was coming back from the law library, and God spoke, and he says, "Who are you trusting in?" And I said, "Okay, God, you're right. If you want me to do the rest of my life in prison, okay. I'll become Billy Graham of the penal system. Whatever you want, God. You got my yes." So, God did miracles, and the Navy discharged me on general discharge under honorable conditions. And then it was just a few weeks later when the district attorney came and offered 5 years of probation with a year in the county jail. 3.5 years later, I petitioned the court to terminate probation early, and the judge not only terminated my probation early, but he withheld adjudication, which essentially means that I was effectively not a felon. And now my FBI record is clean as well. And I remember when I got out of jail, I was riding a bicycle that the chaplain had gotten for me. I remember this huge fence, I don't know how tall it was, probably 10, 12 feet with rolls of razor wire on top of the fence, and it was opened up, and I'm riding this bicycle through it, and the wind in my face, I was on top of the world. I had nothing but Jesus, and that was all I needed. And I could barely see where I was going because I was crying with so much joy. And I remember telling God, I learned how to survive on the street. I learned how to survive at war. I learned how to survive in jail. But I have no idea what it means to be a real man. I need you to teach me. And he's still doing that. 24 years later, he's still doing that. What a wonderful journey. I know so many men right now that are serving life sentences, but they're completely free inside. You know what? Their whole life is in front of them. Because the freedom that God will give you inside when you're restored to Him is way, 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 way more precious than any kind of freedom that you could have outside of the wire without Him. You know, I have so much I could share. So much I could share about the journey with God and the joy that He's given me as I've stepped out in faith, believing that His Word is good, believing that I'm not defined by my failure, I'm not defined by my past, I'm not limited by the decisions that I've made, that God can truly turn ashes into things of beauty, that He can make me a trophy of grace. God can, in fact, restore any of us, no matter where we've been, no matter what we've done, no matter what the shame, the guilt, the condemnation. God's grace abounds. Oh, His grace is so good. You know, the scripture says that by grace through faith in Jesus, we have the right to be called children of God. So that's why I'm sharing this. I'm sharing this because Jesus is more than able to meet you where you are, no matter where you've been, no matter what you've done, no matter what's been done to you. God's grace is there, and His love for you abounds. And there's nothing that you can do. There's nothing that you can do to diminish His love for you. Oh God, it's wonderful. We never walk alone again. No matter how far you have walked, no matter through what darkness you have walked, no matter what you've done or where you've been, you need not ever walk alone again. Loneliness, gone. Depression, gone. Hopelessness, gone. Replaced by intimacy with your Father God Creator, one with Him, affirmed by Him, walking with Him. in things that He desires for you to grow and experience now and for all eternity. The family that I've always yearned for, the life that I thought was impossible, God has given me and He wants to give you. But the father of lies is our adversary, the devil, who seeks to steal, kill, and destroy everything that relates to God and God's kingdom. His sole focus and purpose in life is to destroy you, to steal the blessing that God has for you. And his favorite thing to do is blame God for the bad things that are going on in your life. Shift the blame to God so that you don't desire to know God, so that you don't desire to have a relationship with Him, because you think that He's some genocidal, misogynistic, egotistical control freak. Okay? And that's not at all who God is. He has things stored up for you that you can't possibly imagine. This Jesus that created everything for us to enjoy, created you for Him to enjoy. And He knows every hair on your head, every tear you've ever cried, every desire of your heart. And He wants you to know Him like He knows you. Wow. And it's not a fairy tale. He's real and He's here. And He's been pursuing you. So today, I implore you, be reconciled with God. Yield your heart to Him. In whatever words you have, give Him your life. Give Him your love. And He will give you new life and love you like you never thought possible. Bless you.